Still talking COVID-19 response, but this time around outside the shores of Nigeria. The United Kingdom, one of the epicenters of the coronavirus, is filled with foreigners, Nigerians inclusive.
With death rates higher than that of Nigeria, the government has appealed to people not to defy the lockdown to visit tourist destinations during the warmer weather this weekend. Police will be patrolling areas like the beach, warning people to go home.
Trust me, that's the emptiest I've seen the London Eye been. So the question now is, how are Nigerians living in the UK surviving amidst all of this talk about virus and coronavirus? COVID-19, I should say. Joining us now in the UK is Chidi Lloyd, former Rivers State Lawmaker. It's a pleasure to have you, Mr. Lloyd. If you can hear me, I'd like to ask you, how has it been like for you surviving, and probably other Nigerians you know in the UK now, owing to the fact that it's a total lockdown and the cases are higher in the UK? How's it been like for you?
Well, basically, first I want to thank you for having me. It's not been easy, but what you do is a matter of life and death. You need to adhere to the instructions and directives of health professionals. So we've been locked down for as long as the government has asked us to lock down. Everything is on hold, but the good thing is that our students here in the UK is as good as excuse me, it's as good as nothing has changed, because we've just immediately switched to visual learning, and everything is going well, save for the fact that you are not allowed to come out, except you are going out for essentials like going to the grocery stores or going to see your NHS MD. General GP.
Okay, you know, with the highest numbers right now in the UK, about 18,000 people who have passed away, is there a sense of dread that comes with just being in that environment, as well as just trying to find out what this social distancing means for people who have day-to-day businesses as well, not being able to go in and attend to customers? How are Nigerians reacting to that?
Well, Nigerians, fortunately for us, we are coming from an environment that is not that is as good as being at war. It is very easy for us to cope here, because it's not different from what we have back home, except for the fact that we are not involved in the collegiate living that we are used to, moving around, and most persons who in Nigeria depend on daily pay to feed. So it becomes really difficult for a system that is not structured. It's not as structured as it is here in other jurisdictions. So here we immediately adapted. You can sit in the comfort of your flat and order whatever you want, and it is brought and kept at your door. I don't think that we have such luxuries back home. So it is easier for us. You call your GP from your room if you have any need for him, and they attend to you. Things here are quite structured in a manner that depicts the fact that they are treating human beings. And you see leadership at work. You see governance, and you feel at home, and you thank. You have no regret that you pay taxes.
Well, despite the comforts which you have painted and which we do understand, there are a number of Nigerians who are stranded and are wanting to come back home. The Nigerian government has been compiling lists, including from the UK, but there are conditions that have been attached to this request to return home at a time like this. Are you in touch with such Nigerians in the UK at this time? Conditions include you must have been tested for coronavirus. When you get back to Nigeria, you will be in forced isolation for 14 days, and you must also pay for your own return back home. What's the reaction to these conditions if you have spoken to Nigerians in this category?
Well, I do not want to assume that I'm speaking for Nigerians who want to come home. We are in the United Kingdom. I am in Scotland, precisely in Dundee. So I couldn't have been speaking for. I'm not also the chairman of whatever Nigeria union that we have here. I know why I came here, and I'm facing my business here squarely. I have not subscribed to coming back home for any reason, and we do know that in less than no time The curve here is flattening. No government anywhere, no matter how sophisticated, will prepare for 18,000 sick persons at the same time. So when you have things like this as pandemic, no matter how sophisticated the government is, it will have initial problems in taking off. And the government of the United Kingdom now are beginning to stabilize. And in less than no time, the curve will begin to flatten. And we are saying that the citizens here, the most important thing is that they are adhering to the directives of medical personnel here, as opposed to what we hear at home, where people still go around to attend burials and do some other things. So I want to implore people to please adhere to the instructions to stay at home. This pandemic does not have a cure as at now. The only cure to it is that we should stay far from each other. So by so doing, we are not able to spread the virus, as it were. So it is important that we listen to what the health personnel, especially the directives of the World Health Organization. The most troubling thing with this pandemic now is the kind of information that we see on social media, where people copy and paste all manner of prescriptions and all manner of things. I think that is worse than even the pandemic. And information that is uncensored is worse than the pandemic itself. So we must be wary of where we get our briefs on the COVID-19 itself, and also ensure that we stay at home, no matter how difficult it will be. We are in a state of war, and this is an asymmetric kind of warfare where you do not even know who the enemy is. So my attitude to this pandemic is that every other person has it apart from myself. So I have been locked down for going to 3 months now. Even before the lockdown, I had already locked down.
Mr. Chidi Lloyd, I just want to understand, are you advocating that because the systems in the UK work better, you're advocating that everybody should remain where they are, including those Nigerians who might want to come back home at a time like this?
No. I didn't advocate for that. I do not know of any Nigerian who wants to come back. That is why I said that I'm not speaking as the chairman of the Nigerian Union in the United Kingdom. So I do not know. The relevant ministries back home that are compiling the list would know better. I do not want to speak on facts, on issues that I do not have facts. Well, what I said is that I'm in Scotland. I originally have intention. I have what took me away from home to the United Kingdom, and until that is achieved, I do not intend to come back. I do not intend to subscribe to any form of bringing me back home.
Okay, Mr. Chidi Lloyd, you said a lot of things that I'd like to pick holes into. You talked about Nigeria's preparedness and the likes. You talked about it was even better being in the UK. But a lot of people will say, hey, Chidi Lloyd, you were a former lawmaker in Rivers State. I mean, what's your read? Are you hearing about anything happening back at home? What's your read of what?
I didn't say that it is better. I didn't say that it is better to remain in the UK. That wasn't what I said.
Okay, you didn't say that. But as a former lawmaker now.
What I said is that it depends on the individual. I am here in school. So, and apart from the physical attendance to classes, we immediately switch to visual learning. So, which means schools still continue. So there will not be any immediate need to come back until I'm done with my business here in the United Kingdom. That's what I said. I didn't say that Nigerians who volunteer to go back home should not go back home. At times like this, there's usually fear and apprehension. People would want to be around their loved ones in case of eventuality. That's what I said. But for me,
Mr. Chidi Lloyd, I don't ask my question. No, I don't ask my question at all. But I'll let you pass on that. It's good you've clarified that. But I'm saying, as a former lawmaker, you know, of Rivers State, what's your read on what is happening back home? You're still very influential politically, Mr. Chidi Lloyd. A lot of people will have been calling you, even probably for palliative. I'm sure if you were back in Nigeria now, you will be in the vanguard of sharing palliative. I will have been seeing the Chidi Lloyd rise and the likes. I mean, what has it been like? Definitely, Mr. Chidi Lloyd. What has it been like?
Well, I am also, thank God for social media and the communication networks. The world is indeed now a global village. I'm in touch with what is happening back home. I'm also in touch with especially what is happening in my home state, in Rivers State. I do share the sentiments expressed by the government back home and all they are doing. I have also indeed contributed my own small quota in to what the coalition the coalition funds of the Rivers State government, because at times like this we must eschew political differences and work together to conquer this common enemy. Like I said in my message back home, the COVID-19 is unable to differentiate between who is a member of any political party. So this is not a political war. This is an asymmetric kind of warfare that do not that do not fear anybody. We have seen the high and mighty fall. We have seen even the poorest of people fall to this pandemic. So we must come together and fight. It is not important. It is not instructive at this time to fight from all fours. We must fight concertedly. All efforts must be concerted at ensuring that we keep our people safe. Back home, I've heard of steps that have been taken by the government of Rivers State at locking down. I think Rivers State was the first state that took the bold step to lock down.
All right, Mr. Chidi Lloyd, we'll quickly go on a quick break. You'll come back and talk about the steps taken in Rivers State. We'll go on a quick break. We'll be right back with you. Thank you. Right, still on the morning show right here on the Rise News, and we've got Chidi Lloyd all the way from Dundee in Scotland, studying former lawmaker in Rivers State. So Chidi Lloyd, as I was saying, you're talking in reaction to what has been done on ground in Rivers State as regards COVID-19. So as you were saying, Chidi.
Well, I do not have all the facts, but what I say is that reading from talking with my constituents, talking with family members back home in Port Harcourt, it's been the measures that have been put in place by the present administration back home, albeit very painful, has also helped in reducing the number of cases in the state. As at this morning, we have just about 3 cases. So I want to plead with the citizens to do all that government says they should do at this time. It is very difficult. It is difficult for everybody, but we are in a war situation. In a war situation, nobody talks about comfort. Comfort is secondary when we come to a war situation. So whatever you are asked to do, please do for the sake of your life and those of others. You never can know. You never can know who the conveyor belt is now of this virus.
Definitely, I agree with you. The UK government has come out to say that there will be indeed social distancing measures up until 2021. So my next question to you is really about the mental and psychosocial health of Nigerians living in the UK. We are known to be people who love to socialize, who love to go out, and as we approach the month of May, we're beginning to see warmer periods in the UK. So how would you say that you as a person are surviving, especially dealing with like mental issues or whatnot?
Well, the issue is at this point, it is not easy, like I said, at the issue, but it is only the living that socialize. So when you know that the choice is yours, that people don't socialize. So we must live one day at a time.
I'm talking about people that are living with mental issues, people that need mental health and need to see psychiatrists or psychologists as well.
Here in the UK, initially the NHS was closed for those who non-COVID patients, but as the curves begin to flatten, just yesterday, the Defense Secretary had announced that the NHS would not be open for those who have, to all kinds of those who have other diseases other than COVID-19. The pressure is reducing. They have increased testing, the capacity of testing. Here in Dundee, we do not have too much of COVID-19 cases, save for cases that are reported from care homes and all that. But it is better to remain indoors and stay alive than to come out and die.
Mm.
Well, initially, you talked about infrastructure being pertinent to curbing the spread of COVID-19 and how social distancing may not, really work in a place like Nigeria. Let me ask you, since you're in touch with what's going on at home, President Muhammadu Buhari had said that Nigeria had adopted global strategies, but implementation was local. It's 4 weeks now into a lockdown. There's anxiety as to whether this will be extended or not. The governors of the 36 states yesterday after a meeting says they want a 14-day interstate movement lockdown. But from all that you have seen and all that you have heard from back home, what do you think we're not doing right? And what should we prioritize doing going forward?
Well, first and foremost is to say that the governors of the 36 states woke up rather late. The decision they took was kind of late. But what do you do? It is rather late than never. This lockdown would have happened long ago. I think this pandemic was taken for granted initially when it started from Wuhan in China. People localized it and thought that it was a Chinese problem and all that, until it got up to Spain, to Italy, then the globe woke up. Nigeria had an ample opportunity to curb it by taking stringent measures. But the infrastructure on ground in Nigeria, the best thing is to stop its spread, because if it spreads, I fear that I doubt that we have the capacity to contain what has happened in other advanced countries. But God forbid we have such number back home. But the government has been doing well. But the problem again is with the citizens. Citizens must understand that this is an unusual period and must help government to help them. The only way to curb what I fear may happen is to stay at home. Okay. If those who have it stay at home, they will not transport it to others. The virus doesn't have legs. The virus does not move about. It is conveyed from place to place. You can imagine such a very selfish virus that comes to leech on others and be carried by people from one place to the other. So if we restrict ourselves, we'll see that we will break the chain of transmission, and that's what government is preaching. But the basic thing is a government must also begin to look at what these stay-at-home measures will eventually lead to. We have read of security problems from Lagos. I fear that it may dovetail to other states, because when people sit down, people back home, we have this notion that it is better to die trying. Nobody will sit at home and watch his or her kids die of hunger. I've heard people say that what we have now is coro hunger, not coronavirus. So government must also begin to look at this. Is not the time to dollar rice and Indomie and all that. Those are not sustainable for this period. Government must look at issues such as taking off burden from the people. There should be electricity. You don't tell people to stay at home and they have no electricity. Government must, in Ghana, the Ghanaian government waived payment of electricity bill for 3 months for its citizens. These are what is called palliatives, not Indomie, not cartons of Indomie and onion. That's not palliative. Government also waived. Government must begin to look at those who pay tenants who pay their landlords. Some schools now are beginning to demand school fees back home in Nigeria. No government, no other places are not doing that, but people must also put themselves in the shoes of others.
So just this real quickly, what's your take on the work done so far by the COVID-19 Presidential Task Force? What's your reaction to that? A couple of cases are going up as regards that. And also, what's your reaction as regards the downward spiral the oil industry is taking? Because you are in a state that produces a lot of oil, Rivers State, but our Bonny Light is selling for less than $12 per barrel, and the economic implications. So what's your take on that? Two quick questions as we wrap things up, please.
Well, the issue first is that government back home must, as a matter of urgency, make provisions for all the states of the federation, and not single out one state or the other in terms of support. This pandemic is everywhere now. We have seen that the curve is still rising in Nigeria. Government must assist state governments at this time to cushion the effects. I've seen state governments like that of Cross River, what they are doing. Government must also, as a matter of urgency, make the use of face masks compulsory.